let me lay this out for you. She says, I have a tenant who's been in a rental for 8 years. The house is filthy and in disrepair. I did not renew his addendum to the 2014 original lease. I've sent him and his partner a certified letter and regular mail stating I'm not renewing. They have 60 days to get out. Her question, what if he ignores the certified letter and doesn't move? Do I have to wait until February 5th to start the eviction process? And how long does that take to finally get them out? I've heard horror stories about evictions and I'm nervous and confused about what it involves. Thank you. Well, there's actually 3 questions here, and I'm going to answer all 3 of them because I know this is a common thing that landlords go through when they're terminating a lease, especially with a long-term tenant, someone who's been there for a long time. Actually, the courts look at it a little bit different than someone who's only been there 6 months or maybe 12 months. After years and years and years of establishing your home, the eviction court gets a little bit sympathetic. But in terms of what you've done, it is well within your rights to terminate a month-to-month tenancy, which this has become, with a 30-day notice. In this case, you've given 60 days, and it might be because you were being generous. It might also be because your lease required it. I don't know that for sure. But you said something important in that you sent it by certified and regular U.S. mail. You're only required to do one or the other. The reason that we strongly recommend that you do both regular and certified U.S. mail is simple, because many times that certified letter just isn't collected, or the letter carrier goes and knocks on the door and nobody answers the door, or somebody does answer the door, they're not the named party on the letter, and so the best that the letter carrier can do is leave a message. But if that letter never gets collected, and we get tons of these letters that get sent back to us by the U.S. mail, that regular letter that you sent doesn't get returned. In fact, the reason that it's important to send a certified letter, not because it's the best method, but because it's a trackable method. And if in fact it is delivered, you can prove delivery to the court. However, if you simultaneously send both letters to your tenant, you can track when the certified letter was attempted delivered. And the logical conclusion that you can make and the court can make is that if the certified letter was attempted on date X, then the regular letter, which was mailed simultaneously, was also likely delivered on or around that date, so that you can make that date X your day 0, even though that goes above and beyond what the rule requires. This is our method of counting. Use that date of delivery or attempted delivery as day 0, and then begin your count. Again, day 0 doesn't count. 1, 2, 3 pass. On day 4 or after, you can begin your eviction proceeding. So it doesn't matter that the certified letter is rejected or never picked up. The fact that the regular letter was sent, again, simultaneously, means you can still prove delivery. And the truth is, most courts don't actually require that you prove that the tenant got it, just that you sent it. And your receipt that you keep proving the date of your mailing should suffice as date of delivery. But we go one step further and begin day 0, not on the day of mailing, although the rule does technically allow it. Not all judges read it the same way. We count day 0 as the date of delivery or attempted delivery that we can track through our certified letter. Landlords, as always, we welcome you to follow us on our Instagram page. If you're not a member yet, join us on Facebook. And if you enjoy what you see here, give us a thumbs up. Click that like button. We enjoy that very much. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Let's go on. Do I have to wait until February 5th to start the eviction process? Yes, you do have to wait, because if the date of termination, date X, you say you've got 60 days. You can't begin eviction in anticipation of that date because you know, hey, the process takes 30 to 45 days anyway. Why do I have to wait until that date before I begin the process? Well, because technically they are still in a superior right to possession. So an eviction can only begin when a landlord makes a demand for possession and at that time has a superior right over the tenant. Believe it or not, if they're still within their lease term and have not otherwise defaulted, the tenant has a superior right over you to possession of the property. That's why you have to go through the process. And that's what the lease essentially establishes, is that for that time being, while they comply with the terms, they have a superior right to possession, which you can't interrupt. And so if you're asking, can I go and start the eviction process early? No, you have to wait until they are in default. That is, either they don't pay the rent, and automatically for non-payment of rent, yes, you can begin by sending a notice to vacate, which establishes your superior right to possession. But even then, you'd have to wait the 3 days, right? So if there's a default that entitles you to possession prior to date X, which is your date of termination, then that opens the door, but that's a whole new cause of action. Instead, you would have to wait until the date of termination, and then if they are still there, in this case, it's February 5th, 2023. If the tenants are still in possession on that date, then you would send a notice to vacate, because now they are in violation of the lease for what's called holdover. If you terminate the lease with a proper notice and they stay beyond, you still need to send a notice to vacate due to holdover and potentially even non-payment of rent for the month of February. In this case, send your notice to vacate for both bases and then proceed with your eviction thereafter. Again, the notice of termination is not the same as a notice to vacate. The notice of termination establishes the end date. If they stay beyond that, now they are in default. You can send that notice to vacate, 3 days, notice to vacate, wait the time, and then begin your eviction proceeding. So no, you cannot begin prior unless, of course, again, they open the door with some other default. If you say 60 days, you have to wait 60 days before you do anything. How long does it take to finally get them out? Now, this is a complicated question to ask because there are multiple and really infinite scenarios that you could endure. But the regular course is about 30 to 45 days. The process in the eviction court after the date of termination has come and gone and after you've delivered a proper notice to vacate, the process is about 30 to 45 days. It used to be by rule 21 days. In post-pandemic Texas, it's a little longer. And so you can expect about 30 to 45 days to file the petition and get a trial setting and attend trial and get a judgment. Thereafter, it could be extended by a number of possibilities. But generally speaking, it's 30 to 45 days, right? After the judgment, you can, if the tenant doesn't appeal, get a writ of possession, and typically that takes about 2 to 3 weeks to carry out. But without an appeal, ballpark is about 30 to 45 days. If there's an appeal, that could add another 2 to 3 months to the whole process. So be wary of that. An appeal could ultimately extend time, but it's hard to say precisely what's going to happen in your case. Every case is a little bit different. The majority of them are resolved in the justice court within 30 to 45 days.